I'm excited to come to town. Unfinished business. Grandson takes the Capital Ballroom. That's what we'll call the live album. Unfinished business. I should have called the tour that.
I'm actually thinking I wanted to start off by reading a part of a text conversation that I kind of recently had with a listener, and it was about one of your songs because we played the song "Dirty," and she was really explaining to me how much she loves that song and how much it resonates with
Wow.
her. Um,
Sick.
the listener's name's Kelly Ray, and this is what she wrote. She wrote, I'm going through part of my journey where I'm learning to take accountability for my actions. And that song was a song I did in one of my counseling courses, referring to people in my life not taking accountability and responsibility. So I put that song out to the world every day and ask myself, do I really love my neighbors and my family enough to go out of my way, even if it pains me to help them and care for them? And given the difference in ages between myself and grandson, it might be surprising that that song means so much to me, but it does. And so, yeah, that's from a listener named Kelly.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah.
Kelly that's very cool to hear somebody's story like that. You have no idea when you're writing a song like that, how it's going to connect and resonate with people. And, that means a lot, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, of course. And because that's the thing I think, and I'm hoping you hear this on a regular basis, that like, the music that you do put out, especially for the past several years, is like it's very important. It's a message and it's something that people relate to, and is, genuine fans like myself and like Kelly Ray. We appreciate you for that. So wanted to start.
Man, Brian and Kelly Ray, I know who I'm grabbing dinner with in Victoria. Let's get after it.
That sounds great, man.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it means a lot, and it's a lot of the impulse for me to do what I do 5 years in is these kind of stories that we get to share and building this life together, and hopefully we, as both me as an artist and fans of my work, we can hold each other accountable to kind of shape the future that we want to see, at least in our small circles, in hopes of making a bigger difference.
So then let's begin then with the newer stuff, and like specifically the song Eulogy. Now, if I understand correct, now you've been working on what's your latest album, and I actually read that it was during a bad mushroom trip sometime last summer that you got inspiration for this song that actually led you kind of go back to the drawing board with your entire album. Is that right?
Yeah, that is accurate. I was working on an album and kind of felt like I was going through the motions more or less, while juggling a lot of change in my personal life that I was struggling to adapt to. And we did some mushrooms this summer. We did a bunch of mushrooms this summer, but one particular time we were doing some mushrooms this summer. I found myself kind of confronted with a lot of what my ego was kind of running from, and I realized that I was leaning on a lot of bad habits that I needed to change, as far as how I was thinking about myself, my inability to look forward to the future, and I realized I need to have some difficult conversations and ask for help from people that I'm close with. And so that's kind of what inspired that particular song. And as soon as I touched on that nerve that felt so personal, I recognized a lot of the other work I was doing wasn't going to cut it. That was the level of vulnerability that I wanted the whole project to come with. When people hear this album that have been a fan of mine for a while, or if they're new fans, I hope that when they hear it, they hear something that feels really honest, if nothing else. And so any song I was writing that felt like the point was to have a big old radio hit or something, I tried to dig a little bit deeper than that and tell these stories that were more personal, about spending all this time on the road, life in the pandemic, life growing up and having to open some doors and close others in your life. And I think I've come away with a project that me and people like me are going to really resonate with. And I'm really happy with it.
And that's why your work is important. Because that's the other thing too, I was going to say, is that like the lyrics in this, they're very poignant, very raw, they're very personal. But then it also, for anybody that's relating to what you're saying, and relating to what you're going through, you vocalize and you kind of lyricize certain things that could be causes to this. I think like one of my favorite lines from this song is how you talk about how, you know, we're in essence test subjects for social media, and how it's basically kind of giving us all like ADHD and anxiety, right? And we're a whole generation of people that are going through that right now, and that we can relate to that.
Yeah, I think that it's such an interesting time to be a songwriter. So much has changed in how we connect, even just this medium of you and I talking, me from a small room in Los Angeles and, you know, doing it in this virtual capacity. We've both been given so much at our fingertips, and yet also pushed so much real connection away.
Mhm.
And I think that policy will always fall behind progress and innovation. Look at tobacco companies of 100 years ago. Look at how many ways in which we get introduced to something as a society that we then later need to figure out only after a generation has been really affected. And I do think that this particular way that we rely on the internet to interconnect us has really dangerous consequences. And we're kind of figuring it out in real time as I'm letting AI start to write grandson songs and living on the internet like this. It's like, damn, I also really miss some of the best parts of just being able to log off and connect with my friends. And I think a lot of people feel that. And I think that that's part of why concerts are so important. You know, being at a concert is one of the few places left that you can be standing next to somebody who thinks differently from you, who voted differently, who's in a different income bracket.
Mhm.
And yet you guys are standing, not just existing together online, but standing next to one another with your phone flashlight on. You know, I think that live events, especially post pandemic, are more important than ever. And having these interesting conversations, particularly using music to tell these particular stories, and just, you know, like you were telling me at the beginning of our conversation, you never know how these sorts of vulnerable types of storytelling will resonate and inspire somebody else's conversations down the road. So that's what compels me as an artist, and it's been a really interesting journey for sure.
That's great. Yeah, it's the great equalizer music, right? And I
Yeah.
really like what you're saying about that. You know, everybody being at concerts and everybody experiencing, looking in one direction and experiencing one thing. You
Yeah,
know?
everyone except me
Yeah,
looking in
that's
the
true.
same direction.
Yeah.
I'm looking out at all of you. And that's why I don't do mushrooms and play concerts,
Yeah.
because if I'm on stage thinking about that, we can get south real quick.
Yeah. Why is he looking the other way? So musically, with even this song with Eulogy, you know, one of the things that our listeners have pointed out is that this is not musically what they're typically used to hearing from, you know, especially the songs that we play on the radio. Very driving beats, very like forward and kind of out there and aggressive. And this has a little bit of a more laid back feel, I find. And usually when people ask me about that, I kind of say, I think my guess is it's sort of just further evidence of how rather like eclectic you are in your musical tastes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been like, I was reading this article and you were talking about like some of the artists and the songs that you felt have shaped you. And you list everyone from John Denver, James Taylor, Bill Withers, the Beatles, to like even hip hop cats like Brother Ali and Big L. Like where would you say like your exposure to music primarily comes from?
Oh man. Well, my exposure now is so different from what it was when I was a kid, but you know, going back to talking about being a guinea pig generation, like we were really the first, me and my friends and my older siblings, to get on the internet and get these cracked versions of albums. And you didn't know if it was going to be pornography. You didn't know if it was going to break your parents' hard drive, but you would just download these files that the title vaguely resembled like that Linkin Park song you were looking for. And
Yeah.
so as a kid, I was able to get a lot of access, both through my older siblings' music catalogs, my parents' CDs, but then being left to my own devices on the internet at a pretty young age. I think even back back then in the early 2000s, I don't think anybody really had a grip on what was going on. My parents would just like leave me at the living room computer for like 4 hours at a time and not come check in. So
Yeah.
you're going to get exposed to all kinds of stuff. So I think through that lens, my main three genres of rock and roll, acoustic folk, hip hop, and electronic music. Those three kind of pillars of inspiration for me kind of emerged. And once I started realizing this is what I wanted to do, it felt like I had to pick, like, which guy was I going to be? And I think that maybe that's why I don't fit into a box maybe as cleanly as some of the other alternative rock artists that might get played on the station or on the program, because I just didn't really fit in as smooth a way. And so my response was, well, I'll try and take little pieces from my entire journey through life. And I think above all else, what I really try and evoke, I want the songs to feel like what they're about. So with a song like Eulogy that is really mature themes, it's kind of heavy. It does have a little bit of a sludgy feeling to it, versus a song like Dirty that is about motivating yourself, getting up and wanting to make change in the world. It's a little more upbeat. It gets you on your feet a bit more. So it's definitely something I'm thinking in the studio. Nothing makes me more frustrated than like a happy EDM song about being depressed. Like I gotta turn it off. It just feels so disconnected.
Right.
So a song like Eulogy that is a really serious song in some ways, for me at least, I wanted it to reflect that when you listen to it. It sounds like a rainy day or something.
Well, let's go back to really quickly. You were talking about live music and the experience of actually getting to play your music live and people getting to experience it all in one room together. One of my biggest memories from, I'd say, the beginning of the pandemic was the fact that we were only 1 week out from your show.
I know, dude. Yeah. I know. That was definitely the one that, I mean, when I got the news that everything was getting shut down, we were packing up the rehearsal. We were about to hop in the bus, drive north LA to Victoria, take the ferry. And I was so excited for that first cross Canadian headline tour, and it got canceled, unfortunately. And but thankfully, and so it was a long 2 years till I was able to come back with Avril last year. Mm-hmm. Man, that sucked. I remember that like it was yesterday, and so much has changed in my life since then. But one thing that has remained the same is I can't wait to play a headline rock show in Victoria, BC.
Yeah, well, it's going to be huge because the Capital Ballroom was a place that you were supposed to be at back in 2020. It didn't unfortunately happen, and it's such a great venue for the amount of energy that you bring to a live set.
Oh yeah, unfinished business. Grandson takes the Capital Ballroom. That's what we'll call the live album. Unfinished business. I should have called the tour that. I'm too late. Yeah, it's gonna be really, really spectacular. I'm playing the new album. I've got a new band. We've got a new live show, top to bottom. You guys didn't see the first one, so it makes no difference to you, but it's better. So I'm really, really, really excited to come back. Wow. Victoria has always been really, really close to my heart. I dated a girl that lived out there. I played the Lake Town Shakedown once upon a time on the island. And I actually did some hiking. I've done some surfing in Tofino. Like I really, really connect with the island, and I'm looking forward to coming back.
Yeah, this is great. We're looking forward to having you out here. Opening for you is Mono Whales as well.
That's right. Great Canadian band. And I feel so lucky. Right before I go, I just want to say how connected the Canadian rock scene really is. Like the Arkells, Glorious Sons, the Beaches, the Bluestones, Mono Whales, myself, Broken Love. There's a lot of camaraderie, and everybody's kind of rooting for each other in a way that I don't know what it was like in previous generations, but there's something really, really cool about that. I'm hoping we can find a way to just do like a big traveling festival all together or something. It's hard to get everyone's schedules right, but yeah. Hopefully one day I can bring Granny Fest over across on the ferry. One day, we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, well, this is awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat, and we cannot wait to see you in August.
Yeah, thanks for spinning the new album, and I really look forward to coming back pretty soon. So get your tickets before they're gone.
The Zone at 91.3.